From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Dennis's Heating and Air Conditioning is Northern California's premier heating and air conditioning contractor. From residential housing, large commercial projects, installation to repair, sheet metal fabrication, and everything in between, we are your go-to heating and air conditioning specialist.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Krueger. Here's a look at our photo of the day. I want to thank John Kelly for sending in this photo from the free Weather NorCal app. This is the South Fork of the Eel River, and turning out just to be a gorgeous day. Just some passing high clouds. Boy, what a day to maybe be out there on a canoe or a kayak or just something to be out on the water and enjoy the beauty of Northern California. Hey, if you want to share your photos, it's very easy like Rowdy Kelly did. All you got to do is use the free Weather NorCal app, send your photos, and you are good to go. Don't have the app? Well, all you got to do is search for Weather NorCal in your app store, download the app for free, and you are sharing your pictures, and it's super easy. And you got a great app on your phone as well. All right, so here's a look at your weather headlines. We got the elevated fire danger the next few days. Yes, the red flag warning was allowed to expire earlier than anticipated. However, we're still seeing some gusty winds, especially in the valley here overnight and into this morning. And that's going to keep that fire danger elevated due to the fact also, I think the humidity is actually going to be a bit lower than it has been the last few days. Now, highs are still going on this mini roller coaster ride as they go up and down over the next 7 to 10 days. But it does look to remain dry this week going into next week with no big changes really going into next week either. We're going to get into all that here in a bit, but let's get you through Krueger's Quickcast, that is, here for your Tuesday, May 20th. Just a quick look at the forecast for today, and then you can be on your way. There's out the door this morning. Temperatures low 60s for the valley, 40s, 50s for the higher elevations and for the coast. And really where most of the clouds are this morning are on the coast, as we'd expect. We've got a swirling area of low pressure right here. We got a little bit of a ridge that's trying to build in. That ridge is what's going to be building in over the next couple of days, and that's going to give us the slightly warmer temperatures. But I do want to talk about the fire potential because there are no red flag warnings, there are no fire weather watches, but when we get in the yellow, this is what I like to call just that elevated risk. What we want is to be in the green here. And what that's indicating is that we don't really have a high risk for fires. In fact, it's little to no risk. Now, the category is technically called low risk, but I like to call it the elevated risk because this is when we start seeing maybe the winds picking up or the temperatures going up and the humidity dropping as well. But when you start getting in the oranges and even those reds, that's when we've got to be even more concerned. But here's the reason why we've got that elevated fire weather risk. See the winds here this morning? They're pretty gusty in parts of the valley here. We see a little bit of a break here by midday, but they still around 15, 20, even close to 25 miles per hour. That's enough to be a bit of a concern here, folks, so we do need to be on the lookout for that. Then we take you into your Wednesday morning, 9 a.m., still looking at some of those gusty winds out there, continuing to create problems and continuing to give us that elevated fire weather risk. So we take a look at Futurecast, and really the only clouds that we're seeing here is in Del Norte and Humboldt counties. Otherwise, we're looking at mainly sunny skies here for the rest of us throughout the day today and going into tonight with those clear skies as well. So for today, yes, sunny skies. Temperature is flirting with that 90-degree mark, but we'll basically be in the upper 80s for most of us in the valley. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s for the higher elevations and those upper 50s to low 60s out along the coast. We'll call it partly cloudy skies for both the inland areas and the coast. Plenty of sunshine for the next 7 days for the valley. Up, back down, then back up, and maybe a slight drop in the temperatures here as we go into early next week. There's a look at the coast. Temperatures upper 50s, low 60s for the next 7 days. No big changes really. That's also the case for the inland areas and for Trinity County as well. For Siskiyou, Modoc County and the eastern mountains, temperatures also going up and down, but really no big changes. Some of the models maybe want to bring in some rain here for your Labor Day, but at this point, I'm going to keep it dry here through this weekend and going into next week as well. All right, that's a look at your Krueger's Quickcast. Hope you have a great day, but stick around if you want a little bit more detail in your forecast. I want to remind you there's a free 24-hour streaming channel available anywhere. Weather NorCal is available. My favorite is the YouTube app because you can watch it on your smart TV, the 24-hour streaming channel, but also on demand, watch the latest videocast forecast like the one you're watching now. So once again, we've got this area of low pressure right here spinning. We got the clouds kind of filtering on through just in the form of some high clouds for most of Northern California. Otherwise, some of those low and mid clouds, mainly those mid-level clouds here for the coast, but I don't expect any rain or drizzle or anything like that. Once again, just want to point this out. When we get in the yellows here, that's when we have that elevated fire risk. And the main concern that I have when I look at the fire potential here over the next few days are the winds and the humidity. So let's start with those winds again. You can see as we go through the afternoon today, we're seeing those gusts upwards of around 20 miles per hour or higher for the valley and even some other areas. But it's mainly the valley that we've got to be concerned about at this point here with that fire danger, but even some of the higher elevations. But there you can see about 8 a.m. on Wednesday, those winds coming out of the north over 20 miles per hour. Maybe even stronger by tomorrow afternoon, getting close to 30 miles per hour for some of you in the valley. And then those winds going into your Thursday should show signs of subsiding and dropping below the 20 and even 15 mile per hour mark. So we look at the fire weather risk here. Now, two things that we look at on this map here. Number one, the color coding on the map. Green is where you want to be. That's where you have the lowest risk for fire danger. You start getting the yellows, that's the moderate risk, and the oranges is getting into the high risk. All right, so we're not quite reaching that high risk in most cases, but you can see a little bit of nice recovery here going into your Wednesday morning. Wednesday afternoon, we're starting to see a little bit of orange popping up on the maps. We're getting in that moderate to high range here for some of us in the valley for Wednesday. So once again, with those winds coming out of the north, it's dry. We've got the humidity levels right here. Those numbers are humidity. So 9% humidity in Chico, 13% relative humidity in Red Bluff. You get the idea. We're going to be looking at those dry conditions. Now this will only take you to noon on Thursday, so this is not going to take into account some of the heating we will see on Thursday, but we may see some lower humidity there as well. And we saw those winds still kind of dying down, so that should really decrease our fire weather risk going into Thursday. All right, let's take a look at Futurecast over the next few days just to kind of give you an idea where most of the clouds are, and that's going to be in Del Norte and Humboldt counties here for today. Let's take you into your Wednesday, and you can see we're seeing some of that low cloud and fog here out along, say, Humboldt Bay. That does clear out pretty quickly. Maybe a few more high clouds coming in on Wednesday, but staying dry. There's some rain up to our north, but I don't anticipate that to really impact us. Maybe just some clouds developing here going into Thursday, especially for the coast, but even some of the higher elevations, maybe a few clouds developing there as well. The mini roller coaster that I was talking about, the jet stream is situated right about here. Typically to the south of that jet stream, you've got warmer air. To the north of it, you've got the cooler air. Looks like what's going to happen is this little pocket of cooler air right here is just going to move due east and will move over Northern California. Now, I don't think it's going to bring us any rainfall, but by the end of the week, we're going to see a dip in our temperatures here, warmer air off to our east. That then moves on out, and then high pressure builds back in by the second half of the weekend. The ridge, though, is mainly off to our east, but it is expanding. Remember, we talked about that dome of high pressure. The center of that dome is where you have most of the heat, which is right here, right? But the outer edges of that we still have that heat. It's just not as intense. So yes, it is going to be warmer as we go into the weekend. Some cooler air trying to ride in, but that ridge is holding on fairly strong, but we can see some colder air coming in from the north and west, which will help to drop our temperatures down again, probably around Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. So once again, mini roller coaster ride. These temperatures going up and down, but nothing extreme as you can see. We're going to be in the low 90s for the most part during those extremes, and in the mid 80s as we kind of see some of those extremes and those drops as well. So up, then down a little bit, then back up again, and just a gradual drop before we see another spike going into Thursday of next week. So you get the idea. We're just not going to see any major heat waves heading our way anytime soon. Here's a look at your lake levels. I do apologize. Some kind of clerical error, something I just misread or saw, but I did note that there was a 5-foot drop out Shasta Lake. That's not the case. I apologize for that. So this is what happened here. Last 24 hours at that point was about 1/10 to 2/10 of a foot of a drop here yesterday, right? But today, as you can see, the last 24 hours, only about 1/1200ths of a foot of a drop. Otherwise, a slight increase here for Trinity Lake and Lake Oroville. All right, so let's take a look at those wave heights. You can see they are increasing and that is a bit of a concern going into this afternoon, but we do expect to see those wave heights drop through the day on Wednesday. So as a result, there's a small correct advisory, but that won't take effect until this afternoon, so you should be okay this morning. Although the winds are still a little gusty, even off the coast here this morning. Your waves this afternoon from the northwest at 5 feet at 6 seconds, and from the northwest at 8 feet at 13 seconds. So here's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. Temperatures kind of averaging around 80 degrees for the Highway 299 corridor northward. To the south of that, temperatures mainly in the 60s and 70s. No rain in the 7-day forecast, but I do expect to maybe see some clouds here for your Labor Day. 60 degrees in Fortuna today, Garberville and Alder Point in the low 70s for your daytime highs. 70 in Orleans, 72 in Hoopa, a bit warmer in Willow Creek at 74, and temperatures upper 50s to around 60 for your daytime highs on the coast. Here's your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast, 60s and 70s for your daytime highs, up and down with those temperatures over the next 7 days. Modoc County, temperatures are going to be in the mid to upper 60s for your daytime highs, mid 70s by Wednesday. There's that drop, and even warmer by Sunday, Monday in the low 80s. There's a look at your eastern mountains. Neighborhood forecast, temperatures mainly in the 70s, although you can see about 80 degrees for Paradise, 68 for Mineral, even cooler out in Viola with a high today of about 66 degrees. And your valley neighborhood forecast to the south, upper 80s is pretty much going to be that magic number here. And the next 7 days, there's that roller coaster ride. We're up to 93 for Chico on Wednesday, back down. Look at that by Friday, actually 83 as that cooler air moves in, back up in the low 90s for the weekend into your Labor Day. Let's take you up to the north, 87 degrees for the city of Shasta Lake, 82 in Lakehead, 88 degrees in Cottonwood and Red Bluff, about 89 degrees. And there's a look at your 7-day forecast for Redding. Those temperatures in the mid 80s by Thursday, Friday, back up in the 90s for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. That is your morning update. I'll be back again at noon. Until then, have a great morning.
At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too. Because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.